Well, we're going to start a brand new series today, and the series is entitled #Struggles, Following Jesus in a Selfie-Centered World. Now, this is going to really continue or tie into the series that we just finished. It was called Selfless. And folks, I'm stuck on that because everywhere I look around, I see people saying it's all about me, it's all about me, it's all about me. And I want us to stand out because it's not about us. And so we're going to look at this. We're going to be beginning with technology and social media and the effect it has on people in the church. Now, if you're not a regular user of social media or the computer, and you heard me say #struggles, you're wondering, what in the world is a hashtag? Right? David, show us what a hashtag is. Is that a hashtag? Okay, for those of you my generation and older, what is that? Pound sign. Exactly. That's what we remember that as, right? It's a pound sign, but that's a hashtag. And that's a symbol, and it's a tool that is used on the internet. It's used on Instagram. It's used on Facebook. It's used in different ways on your computer or on your phone. So if you go to something like Instagram, how many of you know what Instagram is? Oh, a few of you. Okay. You're going to get educated a lot today. Instagram is where people upload a bunch of pictures. And if you go into Instagram and you would type in the search, you want to hashtag cool shoes, you will find all kinds of cool shoes. Or at least people are looking down saying their shoes are cool. But what a hashtag does is allows you to find and share interest with other people who are looking and talking about the same thing that you are. Right? So a hashtag is simply a tool. It connects people on similar thoughts in these platforms of social media. And so I want to do this message series. I want to talk to you about 5 different struggles that interfere with biblical values as a result of technology. Now, some of you who don't like this technology stuff anyway are saying, "Yay! See, it causes all kinds of trouble." Well, let me say first and foremost, I am an avid user and very much like what happens in social media. I think it is a necessary tool that we have today. I love it. I embrace it. I think there's a lot of value in it. For those of us who know and those of us who use it, we see a lot of incredible benefits from it. You can connect with people all over the world. I mean, we hear from our missionaries in India because of social media. I talked to a missionary in Australia because of social media. I talked to a dear friend that lives in Hawaii, daggone it, because of social media. There is a lot of positive. You can promote things that are important to you, and you can push causes forward. So many benefits. But at the same time, with all the great opportunities that technology provides, there are also some unintended downsides or unintended negative consequences of social media and different forms of other technology as well. So what I want to do over this series is just to raise a few questions or a few issues that contrast the struggles that we have with biblical values. Now, let me tell you what we're going to do today. We're going to talk about something that we need in our lives, and I see it all around us. That is contentment. We need contentment. We're going to look at the problem of when what we do is we compare ourselves with others, and then we become dissatisfied or discontented with our own hearts. So let's dive into this hashtag struggles. So we're going to talk about really not the contentment side of it. We're going to talk about the opposite. We're going to talk about the discontentment that we have. We're going to talk about the idea that this is a very real issue today. And so what I want you to do today, I want you to just be very, very honest with yourself. Okay? Because what I'm trying to do here is to expose the discontentment that each and every one of us have in our hearts. And I'm going to give you 3 different categories of discontentment. And then I want you to be gut level honest with yourself. We're not going to show hands, but just be gut level honest about any of these issues that you struggle with. And we're going to broaden this beyond social media for those of you who think this is just about computers. It's not. All right? First area of discontentment is material and financial discontentment. Material and financial discontentment. If I'm sitting on Facebook and a friend of mine put a picture up of his new car. Oh man, I want to be so happy for him. I want to, way to go, God, way to bless. And you know what I'm doing? Dang it, I wish that was my car. I'm jealous. I want that him. I want to be happy, but I'm jealous. Or ladies, somebody puts a picture of brownies. Oh, they're sitting on her counter. But none of you will see the brownies. You will see the granite countertop. And you'll see those lovely little pull knobs that she has on her drawers. And you're thinking, I wish I had that, right? That's just the way it is. We don't see that which is in front of us. Or listen, it could be your best friend's at the beach again, right? Second time this year. And you can't even get to Lake Monroe. You know, that's just the way it is. Or she puts a picture of her shoe closet. And she's got more shoes than Kellogg's has cornflakes. And you're thinking, all I got's 3 lousy pair of shoes. She's got all those. That's just not right. So what happens is we become materially or financially at some level discontent. So I want you to get level honest with yourself. Don't lie. You're sitting in the house of God. It's dangerous to lie in the house of God, right? Can you acknowledge that maybe that's happened at some point in your life? You've been a little discontent financially or materially? Number 2, relational discontentment. Relational discontentment. You see all your friends and they're together and you're not, and you didn't even get invited. Why was I left out again? Why am I never invited to these times when all my friends get together? Feel a little relationally outcast. Or you see someone else, and they're spending this quality time with their children while you're working your tail off just to make ends meet for your children, and you begin to feel guilty. Because you can't do that with your kids. You see other people that have this relational intimacy, and you don't have it. It's just not there. If you ever look on Facebook at people with their anniversary pictures and things like that, man, they look like they got a great marriage, don't they? It just looks so perfect. And all I can think of, man, my marriage isn't that good. You know? And I find myself in one form or another a little bit envious of someone else's relational status. Ever happened to you? Or here's the third one. I'm just going to call it circumstantial discontentment. You're looking at your life and you're comparing it to someone else's. And you're thinking, I really wish I was where they were. You know, at this point in my life, I really thought I would be doing something a whole lot more significant. You ever had that thought? I'll tell you, quite honestly, for me, I'm asking you to be gut level honest. I'm going to be gut level honest. This is mine. This is the one that trips me up. Circumstantial. And you know why? Because I have to work on Sundays. You're finding that amusing. I will not even open up social media Sunday morning before I preach. Because if I do, I'll see a friend, he says, I'm going to the football game. And I would love to be with him at the football game. Painted up with my chest wide open in that coat blue. Does that scare any of you? Or I have a friend that's out in his boat and he's on the lake and he's fishing. Oh, boy, I would love to be there. And in my mind, here's what I'm thinking. Got to level honest. Here's what I'm thinking. Fine, I'll serve God while you serve the devil. You have your little fun while I just save the world and do something significant on the weekends. Chuck Swindoll said something years ago that I've never forgotten. Life is 10% of what happens to you and 90% of how you respond. I think that's good. That's good. Life is 10% of what happens to you, 90% of how you respond. But the reality for most of us is it's flipped. We think that life is 90% of what happens to us, and we don't have any opportunity of how we respond to that. Well, there's a guy in the Bible by the name of Paul, and he was a master of responding in that Christ-like perspective. In fact, we're going to look at what I believe to be the very best verse in all of Scripture on the idea of contentment. And you need to know, Paul's writing this, right? He's writing it while he's sitting in prison. He's under house arrest. He is chained to a Roman guard 24/7. Let me just put it this way so we can understand it. He's not sitting on a beach with a drink that's got an umbrella in it. That's not where he's at, right? It's not great for him right now. And I want you to look at Philippians chapter 4, verses 12 and 13 to see what he writes in the midst of what he's in. Verse 12, I know what it is to be in need, and I know what it is to have plenty. And then I love this. He says, I've learned. I've learned what? What's he learned? It's a secret. We've learned the secret. That's what he says. He's learned the secret of being content in any and every situation. In other words, if life is going my way, or if life's not going the way I want it to, I know the secret of being content. He goes on in verse 12 and says, whether well-fed or hungry, whether living in plenty or in want. You don't know what the secret is this morning? You don't know how to be content? Oh, here it is, verse 13. I can do all things through. Say it with me. I can do all things through who? Who does what? I can do all things through Christ who gives me strength. And I can do all things that will bring me contentment. It's not that I can go out here and stop a moving locomotive. That's not going to happen. Don't go stand in the street and think the cars aren't going to knock you over. It's going to happen. What he's talking about here is I can do all things that will bring contentment. See, listen, the idea of contentment, it is not about what you have or what you don't have, right? The secret of contentment is found in Christ and Christ alone, as we sang this morning. I've heard this some time ago. It's almost become a cliche, but there's so much truth in this. Until Christ is all you have, you'll never recognize that Christ is all you need. You want to find the answer in the power of contentment? Then let everything else be stripped away from you. And then you cling to the Savior. You cling to the Son of God, and you recognize that His presence is real, that He offers peace that goes beyond any human understanding. You realize at that point then that He is our rock. He is our sustainer. He is our redeemer. He is the peace that covers our minds. He is our assurance. Listen, He is everything we need. And listen, you can search and search and search. You can get all the likes you want on your pictures on Instagram or on Facebook, and you can get all the approval of the people you want. You can get all the material things you want. You can know and love as many people as you can meet. But until you experience the goodness of Christ, you'll always be dissatisfied. You will always be longing for something more. Because we all have this God-shaped void in our life. Folks, I want you to hear this clear this morning. We were born for eternity. We weren't born for just this world. We were born for eternity. And so we're constantly longing for something more than what this world ever has to offer. And so until you let Christ be all that you need, you're always going to battle with the enemy of discontentment. And envy is going to rule in our hearts. I'll tell you the secret of being content, Paul says. Hey, I can have a lot. Or I can be in a Roman prison. But by Christ, I can do everything that he calls me to do. The secret of being content. I want to talk about two things that we completely need Christ's strength to do if we're going to overcome the sin of envy. The first thing that we're going to do and that we need Christ's strength to do it is we're going to kill comparisons. We're going to kill comparisons through the strength of Christ. Stop comparing. I love this, 2 Corinthians chapter 10, verse 12. I love what Paul says here. We do not dare. We don't even get close to this, he says. We're not even going to get near this. He says, we do not dare to classify or compare ourselves with some who commend themselves. Because when they measure themselves by themselves and compare themselves with themselves, they are not what? Ooh. So when I compare myself with my buddy in his new car, Paul just told me that wasn't real wise. And if it's not wise, what is it? We don't like that word, do we? I'm a fool. I'm a fool. When I do that, I'm not wise. I'm foolish. And that's what it means. I love Andy Stanley said this. He says, there is no win in comparisons. So we're going to kill comparisons. Right? Because it's not wise. And we're not going to do it. Well, listen, we will be tempted. You will be tempted to compare. We're not going to do it. Can I get an amen to that? We're not going to do it. We're not going to give into it. You know, I remember the first time that I was crushed by this idea of comparison. I was in junior high, 8th grade. We're getting ready. We're having this big award ceremony at the end of the year. And they give this award out to the best athlete of the class. It's got to be me, right? It's got to be me. I was the best athlete, without a doubt, in the class. I played 3 sports. But the guy they gave it to, his name was Rob Harper. There was a 2-person committee that gave that award out. And one of those 2 people was his mother. Folks, I'm going to tell you what, it took me years of therapy to get over that. But understanding that I was comparing myself to him and knew that I was much better. God gave me a humble pill that day. And I don't think I've ever forgotten. So we're going to kill comparisons. Why? I think you'll be amazed at what we're going to find here. Because in James chapter 3, verses 14 to 16, I want you to see how dangerous comparisons are. Ready for this? If you harbor bitter envy. Okay, so if you're sitting here this morning and you got some envy in you, think about this. If you harbor bitter envy and selfish ambition in your hearts, do not boast about it or deny the truth. And then James gets a little bit sarcastic. I love the way he does this. He says, such wisdom. He knows better. He says, such wisdom does not come down from heaven. But what is it? Oh, it's earthly. What else is it? It's unspiritual. And then what is it? Demonic. Think about that. He didn't use those words lightly. He's saying when we compare and we become envious of somebody else, we're dealing with demons. Did you ever think that you were dealing with demons? I never dreamed that I would ever be dealing with demons. But it happens. Anytime I become envious, it happens. It's demonic. It's unspiritual. It's not from heaven. It's earthly. It is demonic. Verse 16, I love, he finishes up here. For where you have envy and selfish ambitions, there you find disorder and every evil practice. Folks, we're going to kill comparisons because it's demonic. Did you know it's one of the top 10s? It's the one God put in place when he took up his tablet, his stone tablet, and he wrote those 10 out for Moses, right? Thou shalt not covet. God gave it to us way back then. And it's not just because it's unhealthy, it is sinful in the eyes of God. Now, I don't know how this will practically play out in your life, but some of you, let's be honest, you might need to take a break from social media. I do that once a month. I don't turn anything on. I take it from technology altogether, so someday if you try to call me and I don't answer or I don't respond, that's because things are turned off. Once a month, I call that a sabbatical from technology because it's ridiculous. But we need to take a break from social media because all it does is feed the envy. But beyond social media, think about this. How many of you still order catalogs? Nobody orders catalogs anymore. You don't have to order them, do you? They just show up on your doorstep, right? They're just there. We need to get rid of them. We're always wanting something more. Or this, delete the shopping apps from your phones. Woohoo! Better yet, stop watching QVC TV. Or let me go from preaching to meddling. Stop watching HGTV. Aha! So I hit somebody's feet there. Why? Because everything that we see on there is so gorgeous. It's so new. It's so... And then we turn around and we look at our shack. And it just doesn't make sense. Or maybe you shouldn't go to the Home and Garden show. Shouldn't go to the RV show. Shouldn't go to the fishing show. Shouldn't go to anything that's happening out at the fairgrounds that has stuff. Guilty. I went last week to the Meekum auction. That is a car auction. But I can be very honest with you this morning, as I'm gut level honest. I really wasn't into this anything because it was all so far out of my price range. Now, had they been in my price range, it might have been a different story. But there was a car there that was projected to sell for $7 million. A car! All it takes is somebody turning left when you don't want them to, and that's the end of that car. Right? So we've got to be careful of what we do. We're going to kill comparisons because this envy is demonic. And it's every evil practice that comes from within. But listen, not only do we need to kill comparisons, but what we need to do to replace that is to celebrate successes of others. Because that will purify our hearts. When someone else is blessed the way that I want to be blessed, whenever I can learn to celebrate with them, then it purifies the intentions of my heart. You know, somebody else gets the job that was your dream job and you wanted it so bad, and you say, man, you know what? God must have had a reason to bless them. And so everything within me, everything that I have, I'm going to say, God, I thank you for the blessing in their life. Or someone gets that thing that you've always wanted. God, I just thank you for the hand of blessing on them. God, please continue to bless them. It purifies our motives. I wish I was going on vacation. Anybody here with me with that? I just wish I was going on vacation. And that's because social media is bad in this respect. Because my friend David is in Iceland right now, skydiving off of volcanoes. And he sent me that picture. And I sent him back a face that's like this and the tongue sticking out. I don't need to know that. I don't want to know that, right? But the thing is, I gotta say, God, thanks for blessing David. He's having a great time. Thank you for what you're doing. God, that is a tremendous blessing in David's life. I never dreamed he would ever do something like that. And you've given him the courage and the blessing to be able to do that. Folks, what I found in my own heart, listen, if I cannot celebrate for others and the blessings that they receive, here's the way I respond. I actually think that I'm limiting what God wants to do in my life. Now, I can't prove this. I can't find it in the Bible, and it may or may not be true, but it is how I live my life. I don't want to be the reason that God doesn't bestow blessing. And so I live as if that's true. Think about that for a moment. Perhaps the reason why God's not blessing you right now, it's because you're not celebrating the blessings in somebody else's life. I never want it to be about me. We got to kill comparisons. And we need to celebrate God's blessings in other people's lives. Here's the second thing we need to do. Kill comparisons. Cultivate gratitude. Cultivate gratitude in our own lives. Someone's defined envy this way. I think this is a great definition of envy. Envy is resenting God's goodness in other people's lives and ignoring God's goodness in your life. Let me say that again. Envy is resenting God's goodness in other people's lives and ignoring God's goodness in your own life. Folks, that's powerful. That's very powerful. So we need to cultivate gratitude. We need to see God's blessings in our own lives. Proverbs chapter 15 and verse 15. I love this verse. For the despondent, every day brings trouble. For the despondent, every day brings trouble. Some of you, you know people like that, don't you? Some of you are people like that. Okay, don't be elbowing anybody right now. But we all know those, don't we? Oh, it's going to rain today. Oh, this is going to be a horrible day. Oh, the economy's still stinking. Oh, I'm just so upset. My kids are going to be brats again today. I know it. Right? You know people like that? Everything is down in the mouth. My car, boy, it's not going to start today. I know. I got to be over here, so it's not going to. I just know. That's how people are. The despondent, every single day, it brings trouble. But, there's that favorite word, but for the happy heart, life is a continual feast. Okay, who likes to eat? Hey, come on. You're in the house of God. Don't lie. We all do. Our favorite activity at church is eating. I mean, we even provide a little bit on Sunday morning, right? A little cracker, a little juice. But when we get together outside of that and we bring in these pitch-in dinners, whoo! I know how some of you eat because I usually try to be the last in line. And there's a whole lot of dishes empty before I get through that line. It's a feast for the happy heart. Listen, those with a happy heart may have the same day as a despondent person, but the happy heart sees the blessing of it. The happy heart is always ready to see God's goodness. You see, listen, if you want to look for bad in this world, do you know what? You can find it. You can find it. And if you want to look for the blessings of God in this world, you can find them. It's there. You can find it. If you're looking for the blessings of God, you can see it. For the happy heart, it's a continual party. It's a continual party. There's a movie that came out, I think, 2 years ago. It's called Jingle Jangle. Anybody ever see that movie? I love that movie. I watched that way too many times. It's not on Disney, but that's okay. It's like a Disney movie. But Jingle Jangle is a movie about a young girl and a boy that try to help her grandfather see how good a person he is. And so they're getting ready to do something that's very dangerous. And they're getting ready to crawl through a big fan blade. And he says, we can't do this. There's no way we can do this. We can't do this. And I love her response. Whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're right. Think about that. Man, that ought to be a proverb somewhere. Right? Whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're right. Listen, Solomon, who was the richest man of his time, maybe the richest man that has ever lived, said this in Ecclesiastes chapter 6, verse 9. Enjoy. I want all of you to say that. Enjoy. Come on, say it like there's joy in it. What is it? Okay, on the count of 3. That was pretty lousy. I was speaking in tongues right there. On the count of 3, go. Enjoy. I love this. Enjoy what you have. Enjoy what you have rather than desiring what you don't have. Oh my goodness. Do you know how much more of our lives would be content if we were just happy with what we had and wasn't worried about what they had? That's where contentment comes. Solomon says, enjoy what you have rather than desiring what you don't have. Folks, listen, if you want a continual party, enjoy what God's given you instead of longing for what you don't have. Be thankful for what God has given you instead of looking at someone else's post on Instagram and thinking, oh, I wish I had their life. You know what? They're probably longing for something in your life too. That's what's amazing. Enjoy what you have rather than longing for what you don't have. So the next time you're tempted to say, I hate this stupid car. The thought ought to be, God, thank you. I've got 4 wheels that are going to take me where I need to go, and I don't have to walk. And because I have that car, I'm one of the richest people. I'm in the top 5% of the richest people in the world because I have a car. Thank you, God, that I have a car. Or, I wish I had a better house. No. God, thanks that I got a roof over my head. I got indoor plumbing that works. Now, when our plumbing goes out, we get all upset, don't we? But do you realize that more than half of the world does not have indoor plumbing? Half of the world doesn't have it. That's a blessing. A significant blessing that we need to be thankful for and not take for granted. Oh, my life is so crazy. I'm so busy. Somebody comes up and says, how you doing? Well, I'm just busy, busy, busy. My life is crazy. Instead of that response, man, I'm just so thankful that I got a family and children that are involved in activities. They're healthy. Their friends are good. The community, I have a community to contribute to. I thank God that I've got things to do and places to be and people to bless. I thank God that I've got a significant life that keeps me busy, doing significant things so I can bless other people. When my life is good, I thank God for the blessings. And when my life is not what I want it to be, I thank God for His goodness. And I thank Him that He's working out all things in my life and in your life for those who love Him according to His purpose. We need to kill compromise. Because it's earthly, it's unspiritual, it's even demonic. And we need to celebrate the blessings of others and rejoice with those who rejoice. And then we cultivate gratitude. Worshiping God because He's worthy of our worship. Because we've learned the secret of being content. Whether living in plenty or living in want. And the secret is very simple. I can do all things through Christ who gives me the strength. Because He is all I need. He is all you need. In Him, we find true joy. We find true contentment. And because He is life, He is the only one that can satisfy.